What is up, everybody? Welcome back to NFL Week in Motion here on Chase's Sports News. I am your host, Chase Coburn. Alongside me here today, Matt King to break down Week 12 of the NFL season. We had him for Week 10. Unfortunately, could not do Week 11. We had on Josh Wolliver, had the one bridge week. Thank you, Josh, for coming on. But here today, we have Matt King back on the show for the third time to break down some of the biggest storylines from this past week of the NFL season. Matt, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm kind of glad that I was able to make it this week because this week was wild. I mean, this was probably one of the wildest weeks of the season so far. So,
and that's saying something too, because this has been a season that's had a lot of, peaks and valleys for many teams. It's been a really wild ride thus far, and that's why I feel like it's anyone's game. When I was on with Jack Suttleman live yesterday, he said, this is the most open the league has been in a while, and I can't agree more. I really do feel like there is no clear-cut favorite. I think Los Angeles has definitely emerged as that team, particularly after their Sunday Night Football win, which we will break down. But yeah, as a whole, I mean, I really think that every single team is flawed, which leaves the door open for anybody, which is going to make it an incredible kind of final third of the regular season. And then, of course, an incredible postseason run. Matt, one of our biggest talking points from Week 10 after Buffalo's loss to Miami, the conversation was, are the Bills, done for? Are the Bills fraudulent? All of that. Then they go and beat Tampa Bay. That conversation changes. They go on Thursday Night Football, and they lay an egg again. It's been a minute since Buffalo now has won back-to-back games. Matt King, my question to you, what do we make of Buffalo at this point? Do we talk about them for their highs, or do we talk about them for their lows? What are they?
Well, what's crazy is right now my phone is blowing up because Brandon Cooks just signed with the Bills, which I'm not very surprised by. I think that's a very good move for Buffalo. They really needed another receiver. I don't know what to make of Buffalo. I mean, that was a really rough outing against Houston, but what I struggle with is Houston's defense that elite, which we know they're really good, but are they like that, or is it more of Buffalo's offense is stagnant combined with a good Texans defense? So I'm still struggling. I think, a lot of the issue, I don't think Josh Allen played very well. I think the big thing about Buffalo is they just rely too much on Josh Allen to be Superman. And it's kind of like what I say about the Ravens too. Like if Lamar's not Superman, the offense is not obviously going to score 30 points a game like they were early in the season when he was healthy. Same thing with Buffalo here. It kind of all goes and stops with Josh Allen. So if Josh Allen can take it up another notch, and that's a fair ask out of an MVP quarterback,
right?
I think they could make some noise down the stretch, but I mean, adding Brandon Cooks is a great move, in my opinion.
For sure.
I thought he's been a very reliable receiver. I don't know if he changes the way that I think about the team necessarily, but it does help. And yeah, I guess Josh Allen is just going to have to take it to another level once again, like he did last year.
So I saw something that I reposted fairly recently, and I'm just going to quickly scroll back on Twitter because I really wanted to pull it up because I think it adds a little bit of depth and an extra element about the whole Buffalo Bills wide receiver conversation. Just if I can find it here. First of all, again, we had this conversation a few weeks ago. I'm so tired of the Josh Allen excuses. I'm saying if you're going to give him excuses, give everyone else excuses. I guess that is my biggest problem. And unfortunately, I can't seem to find it on here, but essentially it was from a credible Bills, reporter on Twitter. And he essentially tweeted out how the Bills, their open rate, their receivers is pretty much the same. Their wide open rate is pretty much the same. The amount of times that Josh needs to throw into tight windows is pretty much the same. It's using advanced analytics. And again, use advanced analytics with a grain of salt, but considering that there really is no true stat to define how great a wide receiver is, yardage is an accumulative stat, not really a way to judge how great a receiver is because it's a byproduct of targets. I just think that are Allen's receivers really playing horrible? Is he just less comfortable in the pocket? Is the O-line bad? Because I also reposted something that says Josh Allen's O-line has been arguably the best in the NFL this season in most categories. And so I guess I just have trouble processing what exactly the problem is in Buffalo. Is it the receivers? Is it the O-line? Is it Allen? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Josh Allen is phenomenal. I think Josh Allen is a spectacular quarterback. But at the same time, I'm looking at the way that he's playing, and I'm starting to question that a little bit just in terms of what he's done this season. So I don't know, maybe where are you identifying the problem? Because everyone loves to point to the receivers, but I really don't think they've been as much of the problem as Bills fans may want to admit.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of it. I think it just goes back to, I mean, I'm not making an excuse for Josh because obviously he's held to a high standard now. He's an MVP as he should, like
Right.
Mahomes and Lamar. They're all held to a very high standard. I think it's like I said earlier, if Josh is not Superman, the team is around him has not been able to elevate to help him when he hasn't been Superman. So it's
Right.
kind of a combination of both. Josh has been worse this year, obviously, and he hides a lot of the issues that the Buffalo Bills have. So I think it goes both ways. I think Josh needs to play at a higher level, but also you have to fault the GM for not giving him more support of players that can elevate the offense when Josh maybe isn't at that level, because he can't be at that level 24/7. It's just unsustainable. It can't happen with any quarterback. I mean, even if you look at Patrick Mahomes, when he's had down years, the defense has been great. Like, I think it's a combination of both. And I think they need to find the middle. I think Josh just needs to play a little bit better. He needs to play at that MVP type level if they want to win. And Buffalo's supporting cast has to help when Josh is not at that level, because he can't be every week. He just can't.
Of course. Obviously, I'm not trying to put all the blame on Josh Allen. I mean, the Bills are nothing without Josh Allen. And people are like, why don't you think you should have won the MVP? To me, the whole point is both the Ravens and the Bills are nothing without their starting quarterback. So the value portion is, boshed, squashed. It's about even. And so then you look at the other variables, and that is why I thought Lamar should have been the MVP last year. But 100%, Josh is an extraordinary talent at the quarterback position. He's an incredible dual threat, and he can make plays. And frankly, he wins big games. Well, he hasn't done it in the playoffs. I do trust Josh Allen under the pressure, under the bright lights. And there are only a few quarterbacks in the league I could truly say that about. I think with that said, one of the things that's driving me crazy from Bills fans is the fact that they're saying that Allen has never had that wide receiver one, which, guys, like for 4 years, he had Stephon Diggs. And I know that final year was a little wishy-washy, right? Diggs wasn't the same player, so because of age, and there was off the field issues as well, with him and Bill's management and all that, and some team chemistry issues. But for 3 years, Allen easily had one of the top 5, top 10 receivers in the NFL consistently, a guy who can go out and produce, a guy who in his first season in Buffalo was nearly a triple crown winner, right? Led the league in receptions and yards. And so I guess I have trouble when people are saying that, oh yeah, Allen has done all of this throughout his career without a receiver. That's not true either. I just think there's so much propaganda that goes around in NFL media. I think part of the blame is on Allen. I think part of the blame is on the receivers. I think the lowest amount of blame should go on the offensive line, but even a little bit, just because when you do take 8 sacks, I don't care what you're trying to do with the football. That's inexcusable. Clearly, the protection is not okay. So clearly, at least on Thursday Night Football, the pass protection was not where it needed to be. So I think you pinpoint a lot of areas of blame. But to me, Matt, call me crazy, I still think I trust them the most of any team to get out of the AFC right now. And I know that sounds insane to think about with the way that they've played, but if they can get hot for 4 games, they have a player who, at his climax, can be the best player in the National Football League. They have a core that's done this before, a head coach who I think can win the big game, and their biggest roadblock and stumble along the way in Kansas City, we're 12 weeks in, and if the season ended today, they would not be in the playoffs, and they have continuously been inconsistent. You even look at a team like Baltimore that's back in the mix. We could talk about this later. I don't think they're playing that well either. I truly think that right now, if I had to put my money on one team out of the AFC, I put it on Buffalo, which is crazy to say and just kind of epitomizes the craziness of the NFL season thus far.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, looking at I just defended New England, so this is bad about their easy schedule. But I mean, I know that Indy and New England, and you have the Broncos. Out of all 3 of those, if I had to choose one of those teams who's newer, I guess, to the playoff picture, to this AFC championship picture, it would be Denver, just because of their defense. That's the only reason. I think as long as Bo Nix can settle with the turnovers and the bad throws, if he can just be a guy, I think Denver does have a real shot at making I mean, you just saw what the Texans did to Josh Allen. If Denver has to see Buffalo, I'm probably taking Denver in that scenario, just because the defense is so good. But other than that, I heard you say it the other day, there's really three teams. And it's crazy to say because they're all not playing well. It's Buffalo, it's Baltimore, it's Kansas City. No matter what their records are, I just cannot put my trust in Daniel Jones, who is playing way worse football ever since he's been getting pressure more and blitz more. He's been one of the worst. He has been the worst starting quarterback against pressure this year. And you saw how he did against Kansas City. He was all over the place the week before. He threw 3 interceptions, either the week before or the week prior to that. And honestly, with New England, they're too beat up on the offensive line for me to trust them at all. They weren't great in the first place, but now they're really beat up. So New England, I think we're going to see a slide. And the next teams up are the same ones that we've seen with the experience, with the best quarterbacks. It all comes back to quarterback and experience, and those three are the teams. I don't know which one because they're all over the place. But one of them is going to take a jump at some point, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I mentioned that last night with Jack Settlement. I do think that out of the three teams that are kind of in, for me, that second tier of contention where I'm like, they've been better this year, but I still don't trust them, of the Indy, Denver, New England tier. I know you really want to put Denver there. For me, I'd rather trust New England because to me, we're in a quarterback league. And out of Daniel Jones, Bo Nix, and Drake May, out of all those quarterbacks, if you had to ask me which one could come up and make a big play in a big moment to lead their team to success, I'm picking Drake May. I really am. And frankly, out of the three head coaches, Sean Payton, Shane Steichen, and Mike Vrabel, all three of them are good coaches. I'm taking Mike Vrabel the most too, because I think he is probably the most consistent and dependable come postseason time, right? We haven't even seen Shane Steichen in the playoffs. It's been a minute.
Sean Payton's a Super Bowl winner.
True. I also think that he had his highs and lows with New Orleans there. So I guess for me, Vrabel also does less with more. And I think now that he's been given a lot more than he had in Tennessee, I think we're starting to see kind of the fruits of what success can look like with Mike Vrabel. So for me, I always say it's 3+1. I think it's the big three that we talked about, the big three quarterbacks, the big three teams, all of that in the AFC, plus New England, because I think they're kind of the team that I think can go and be the Cincinnati Bengals of 2021 and steal that spot, where they're a good team with a good quarterback and, benefiting by, winning their division, getting home field, stuff like that. That is the type of team that I could see going and making a run toward the Super Bowl. Daniel Jones ain't going there. Bo Nix ain't going there. I just really think we're in a quarterback league. And for me, that's going to make the biggest difference. If you guys want to call in or comment, we do have a comment here. We would love to collaborate with you guys during this episode. Josh Allen and the Bills have Lamar and the Ravens problem they had last year. The Bills expect the offense to perform well every week. The defense lets opponents score way too much. That was kind of the Ravens' problem in back-to-back seasons in the beginning part of the year, and then that kind of gets fixed toward the end of the year, it seems like, with Zach Orr, or at least that second half of the season. I don't think the Bills' defense has been the problem. I mean, we didn't even bring them up. I don't think they expect the offense to score too much. I mean, I know it was Davis Mills, but they allowed 23 points, right? You have to expect your MVP quarterback to go out and score 23 points. So I don't think it's a defensive problem. I mean, time will tell, I guess. But I certainly think the AFC playoff picture and the AFC playoff race in general is one of the more interesting ones. Really quick on this, because I think out of all the storylines, this is one that's going under the radar, and for good reason. It's not as prominent a storyline as others, but last week on this show, I said with Josh that the Bears are the worst 7-3 team in NFL history. Are they now the worst 8-3 team in NFL history? Because I feel like they keep benefiting of an easier schedule and riding on the coattails of playing backup quarterbacks.
I wouldn't call them the worst I've ever seen. I think it's just a very well-coached team. I think a big step for the Bears, I don't even think their goal this year should even be, I mean, obviously winning the division and making the playoffs, but I thought the biggest goal for the Bears was to win those kinds of games. I actually read an article on The Athletic about the Bears, and it was exactly like, if you think about the Bears the past couple years, they would always lose these tight games every single time. They were always in it. It didn't matter who their quarterback was. They were keeping games close. Not sure where Chase went, but
sorry, I'm here. I was just going to give you a full screen. My bad.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. I've never seen that before. So They were always losing those games when it was close. But this year they're taking that next step and actually winning these close games. I think that's a big step. I think it's very important, even when you go and play a tougher team. I don't think they're the worst 8-3 team I've ever seen, but I will say that I like them a little bit more than other people might, just because of that experience of being down and making plays when they happen. Caleb Williams shows up when you need him. He's obviously been up and down, but everybody just seems like, it just feels like when the Bears play, somebody's going to make a play and they're going to win the game. And that's a great feeling to have. Look at Kansas City last year. They won 11, I think it was 11 one-score games, like a record. And the Bears are probably on pace to break that. I have no idea what they're at. But they made the Super Bowl. I'm not saying the Bears are the same, but we were having the same conversation about Kansas City last year.
Yeah, 6 one-score wins so far for Chicago. They're certainly going to give Kansas City a run for their money if they are able to, pull off some more tight wins. I do question whether they will be able to do that, because for me, I'm looking at this, and I mean, again, at some point when you're 8-3, clearly you are not the worst of the worst, like some may have expected, but I really do think they are the best of the worst. I don't think they are a great team. I know they're in the lead for the division, but again, I go through the teams that they beat. A Dallas team a long time ago that's super inconsistent. Las Vegas on the road by a point. Washington on the road by a point. Backup quarterback in New Orleans, who was the quarterback at that time? Spencer Rattler, I guess, because now Tyler Shuck is the quarterback there. Tyler Huntley, they lost to a backup quarterback in Baltimore. They beat a backup quarterback, Joe Flacco. They beat, Jackson Dart, who was in and out of the game due to a concussion protocol in that game. Then you beat J.J. McCarthy, who was the caliber of a backup quarterback. And then they beat Mason Rudolph, who is a backup quarterback. So I count, I think, 2 or 3 wins against actual starting quarterbacks thus far for Chicago this season. Again, that's why I call them the worst 8-3 team of all time, because I'm looking at their upcoming games. Philadelphia is going to respond on that Black Friday game. Then they go on the road to Green Bay. That's a tough environment to play in. A Cleveland defense that really, gives offenses trouble. Again, Green Bay at San Francisco versus Detroit. I think they'll make the playoffs just because you're already at 8 wins, but I think it'll be much closer than the Bears fans want to admit. I see 1, maybe 2 wins in that span for Chicago. I really don't think they're that good of a team.
Here's the thing, though. Like, if you look at who they played in the scores, I mean, if you look at the backup quarterbacks, they've done very well against the Bears. I mean, you had Joe Flacco put up 42 points, the Bears still won. You had Mason Rudolph put up 28 points, and they still won. I think that's super important. I mean, how much of a difference does Joe Burrow make in that game? Is he scoring? He's probably going to score 40, but it's not that much of a difference. I'm not trying to say that Joe doesn't make a difference in some kind of way, but scoring 41 points and you still win against the team that scores that much. Same with the Steelers. I think that's impressive. And I think that's a compliment to Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. I think they have just found ways to win. And I really do think they are going to have a statement win. I know you said that they have these tough games. I like Chicago over what Green Bay has looked like. Green Bay hasn't looked as impressive to me as Chicago has, because they are winning. Chicago is winning games they are supposed to win. Green Bay has not. So I don't know. I think Chicago will make a statement win at some point, and I do think they're probably going to win this division.
I think Green Bay plays up to competition that's superior and down to competition that's inferior. That's something that Baltimore did for a long time, and a lot of these contending teams do, where they're just not the team they need to be against teams that they're supposed to cakewalk, but they're game against the best of the best. So where is Chicago? Are they somewhere in the middle? That's where I think I'd place them, but time will tell. I think this is a very interesting team. I mean, again, compared to where they were last year, where they were winning 5 games and not winning these close games, it's 100% an improvement. You have reason to be excited in Chicago. But if you think this team is a Super Bowl contender because they're first in the NFC North after 12 weeks, I'd hold your horses a little bit. But certainly a very interesting team that is certainly overachieving this season. We have so much to break down. I think we go to next. What a crazy game that was between the New York Giants and the Detroit Lions in overtime. The Lions come back from 2 scores down to win, and Jahmyr Gibbs was the main storyline. I don't have the stat line in front of me. Something like 200 scrimmage yards or more, multiple touchdowns, all that. Matt, we've seen Saquon Barkley look worse. Derrick Henry seemingly taking a step back. Jonathan Taylor, is it a byproduct of the offensive line? My question to you, after watching Sunday's game, is Jahmyr Gibbs the best running back in the NFL right now?
What is so funny about your question is I actually just made a video about that. So I have all my stats here. Yes, I do think he is the best running back in football. And there's the reason why is because he is doing more with less. And what I mean by that is that right now he is ranked, what is he? He's third in rushing yards, fourth in scrimmage yards, and second in touchdowns, but he is only 16th in carries. So if we take his averages, compare it to
6.1 yards a carry.
Yeah, let's compare it to Jonathan Taylor. If Gibbs had the same amount of carries as Taylor did with his average, he would have 246 more yards, and he would probably be close in touchdowns. So to me, Gibbs, the problem is he just needs more carries. I don't understand why Detroit. I get that David Montgomery is loved there and Dan Campbell loves him, but at some point, he is a superstar. You have to give the ball to your superstar, and that is Jahmyr Gibbs. David Montgomery right now is negative 10 EPA rushing. He also is averaging 4.4 yards per carry. I understand that he helps in giving Gibbs, time off and being able to be fresh. But at the same time, when Gibbs is playing at such a high level, you just have to keep giving him the ball until he says he doesn't want it anymore. I do think he is the best back. I think it's him and Bijan and CMC. I think CMC is great in the pass.
We're going to talk about that later. I love CMC this year.
Yeah, he's been, he's a receiver at this point. He's not even a running back in my book, but also, in the pass game too, like he's third in running back receiving yards, sixth in touchdowns, and he averages 7.8 yards per reception. He's everything. Him and Bijan are close to me though, but I like Gibbs.
For sure. I think Jahmyr Gibbs has done well. I think the only thing that's maybe holding him back is 12 carries for 39 yards against Philadelphia, 9 for 25 against Minnesota, 17 for 65 against Kansas City. Clearly his value is big, right? All those games that I just listed, Philadelphia, Minnesota, Kansas City, those were games that Detroit lost because they didn't see an incredible performance from Jahmyr Gibbs. How about, 22 for 67 against Baltimore? They were able to go out and win that game because of David Montgomery. For me, I think if you're Detroit, you keep doing what you're doing. Obviously, you saw what happened when you got him 26 touches for 264 yards, right? Clearly he was very successful. But for me, what Montgomery does is he makes Gibbs less predictable. If you give Jahmyr Gibbs the amount of carries as Jonathan Taylor, you're not seeing that 6.1 yards per carry average. And I think it's because they incorporate David Montgomery to such a great extent that defenses don't know where to go. I always say this with Baltimore, why you should use Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell, not equally, but certainly mix in Keaton Mitchell quite a bit because the change of pace back is so important. It adds another dimension to the offense. So in this case, it's the other way around. Gibbs is the, twitchy, shifty one, while Montgomery is more that powerful, goal line runner. So for me, I think you continue to do what you're doing if you're Detroit. I don't think they need to give Jahmyr Gibbs more carries because I think Gibbs is a better asset when it's not as predictable, in my opinion. But I haven't gone through my list. Maybe he's 1, 2, 3, or 4, somewhere in that ballpark. I think he is clearly one of the best running backs in the NFL. I just think he's very inconsistent. And I think Montgomery helps maybe improve that consistency. But I think if you saw him get 20 carries a game, you would see some real big outliers and be like, gosh, how does he have those games? So for me, I guess that's my biggest problem. But when you see games like this, it's hard to deny the success that he has had for this Detroit team. Another storyline I do want to talk about, another 1 o'clock game. Let's talk about our Baltimore Ravens. I tweeted out, Kevin Ostreicher did the post of, all the knives are on that one guy and what's the Ravens' opinion that has you like this? And I put that I think Lamar Jackson has, and I didn't use the right word. I said he's regressed a little bit this season, but I shouldn't use regress because I don't think he's regressed as a player, but more so taken a step back. And 3 straight games with a completion percentage under 60%. It just seems like he's doing less. When you did a film study earlier today that I was watching, how Lamar, he's not able to take off now. He's not feeling as comfortable. He's more inaccurate. He feels more jittery. He's not handling the pressure as well in terms of physical pressure that's in his face. Matt King, my question to you, what is wrong with Lamar Jackson?
I have no other answer than he's still injured. When I was watching his film, and I tried to keep it really condensed in that video, but there are some throws that you can see, and I would show it, but I know YouTube is bad about film, but if you watch some of his throws, especially later in the game, you can see when he's trying to come around with that right hamstring, you can tell he's kind of jittery about it. He kind of doesn't feel confident, and he's using more arm when he throws. And you can just tell he's not confident with that hamstring injury still. I know that he has other injuries, but hamstring is it can take months to actually feel 100%. And also I just feel like it doesn't, with Lamar not running, it doesn't open as much in the passing game for Todd Monken.
Right.
It doesn't open that threat. Lamar is such a great elite passer. He is one of the best passers in the NFL. He's proved it time over time over time. But when the scheme revolves around your quarterback being able to also escape the pocket and make plays, it makes it really difficult. And I think it's really hard to transition your offense from this dual threat quarterback to just a pocket passing quarterback. We saw it with Cooper Rush. It doesn't work. And Cooper Rush has shown success, but in this offense, it's the worst he's ever played in his career. It makes a big difference to me. I think the injury portion is why we might see him regress. I still think he's throwing the ball really well. I still think he's making really good decisions. I would like to see them get the ball out quicker instead of having these long developing plays that are good for Lamar Jackson when he is fully healthy and can escape the pocket and do rollouts. One more thing, like Todd Monken running these rollouts to the right. I know you have to do it because your offensive line is not playing well. It opens up so much more, but Lamar right now on the run is not a good idea. Him throwing on the run, not a good idea. Not as of right now. It's just so difficult. I don't think he's regressed. I really do think the injuries are really bothering him more than we think.
So here's my question. I know it sounds insane to say.
Start Tyler Huntley.
If he's not fully healthy, do you put in Snoop? Like, because here's the thing, for me,
60% Lamar is better, though.
Huntley scored 30 points.
Yeah, against a Bears defense, who we have said Joe Flacco put up 41 points. Mason Rudolph put up 28 points. I mean, not down the stretch.
So what have exactly been the results this season against the New York Jets defense, out of curiosity?
Well, yeah, obviously they had. I think it's more than just the passing game, though. I mean, Derrick Henry was so inefficient in that game. Yes, he had 100 yards, but he also, I don't even know how many carries he got. I think over 20. And it was obvious there wasn't a spark there in the running game. I think Snoop Huntley would still have troubles in this offense because they cannot run the football. They cannot. And maybe Huntley helps with that. Maybe he does because he opens up more. But I trust Lamar Jackson as a passer. I think they just need to figure out how to have this offense work with Lamar's arm more than his legs. I think they're really struggling. I think Todd Monken is struggling with that because it's hard.
So here's what I would do. Right? Look at how the Ravens played with Tyler Huntley at quarterback. They didn't take many risks. They played a more conservative style. They took points that were available, and they were better in the red zone because of it, right? They didn't try to do too much. They kind of truncated the playbook and made the whole offense a little bit more simple to make Huntley's life easier. Why don't they do that for Lamar? Particularly when you have a Bengals defense this coming week that is going to shoot themselves in the foot. I just think that, again, you can't expect Lamar to be this other version of Lamar while he is hurt. If you're not going to play Huntley, almost treat Lamar like he is Huntley, not like he is the 2-time MVP, should have been 3-time MVP that we consider him as, because he's not that same threat as a runner. He's actually, I think, a worse threat as a runner than Huntley would be right now, given his injuries. So I think the Ravens are in a very interesting spot. I think Lamar will get healthy, but here's my problem. Here's my worry, right? Obviously, you don't have a big enough lead. Sure, you're in the lead in the AFC North. You don't have a big enough lead where you could just sit Lamar for a game. Like, you're not in that situation at all. But the last thing you want is to do all this and then get to the playoffs and Lamar's still not healthy. Like, if Lamar's not healthy, maybe they're winning games now. They're not winning 4 straight in the playoffs. Let's keep it a buck. So they need him to be healthy at a point. The question is, how do you win games while maintaining his health up to that point so that you get to January, the Ravens are in the playoffs and he's healthy? I think that's the battle that John Harbaugh and the offensive staff will really need to work with. Does that mean using Huntley? Does that mean finding a way to get the rushing game going? Does that mean trying something different in the offensive line to make Lamar's life just a little bit easier? I don't know, but they need to find some sort of solution. The way that things have been going right now is not a long-term solution for winning football games or keeping Lamar Jackson healthy.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. The Tyler Huntley offense, bring that to Lamar. I love that. I think the quick passing game needs to be there. I mean, Todd Monken has to
And they
adjust.
averaged 7 yards per first down in that game with Huntley. And then
Yeah.
that opens up the rushing game a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I understand. I'm not saying that Todd Monken is fully to blame because it's really hard, especially if Lamar's saying, "Hey man, I'm healthy." Like
Right. Yeah.
open the playbook. Like Lamar is a big play hunter. That's what he is. It's always what he's been. He wants to throw the ball down the field. He wants to attack you vertically in the middle of the field. That's what he wants to do. But Todd Monken is probably sitting there like, it's not working. I will say they probably need to take a page out of what Andy Reid did when Patrick Mahomes had his ankle injury and they went to the Super Bowl and won. And that's because they were dinking and dunking on offense, getting the ball out of his hands quickly. He was saying, he's fine, I want to play, and they adjusted. And that's what they have to do. And it's really hard when you have that threat because Lamar is still insanely fast when he's hurt. So it just makes it so hard. And you see him run around avoiding sacks. So it's really tough.
I've always said with Lamar, I think he's not as fast, but he's just as agile. Like,
yeah, maybe that's the word I'm looking
right.
for.
Like,
yeah.
I think like that one play where he was like about to be taken down, he just like ducked under the guy and got rid of it. Like, that's still like part of Lamar Jackson's agility, but he's just not as quick. Like, I've never seen Lamar Jackson chased down by a linebacker.
He looks over 30. Like he does not.
But here's my question. Maybe the injuries are showing it now. Do you think though he's getting slower in general? Because you say he looks like he's over 30. He'll be 29 in a few months.
Yeah, I know. I don't think so. I mean, ever since that Buffalo game, I saw highlights of that Buffalo game from people posting it and being like, "Oh, I missed this, Lamar." Like watching that, I'm like, no, not really. He hasn't. Maybe a tad. He obviously, from his rookie season, he has obviously slowed down. But
yeah,
I mean, he had that run last year against Houston for 50 yards where he looked like he was running 25 miles an hour. So
he was jogging too.
yeah, exactly. So I don't know if we've ever seen Lamar hit his top speed. I really don't. I would love to. I really wish he ran the 40. I know why he didn't, but I wish we would have known how fast he really is.
Yeah. We'll just have to imagine. And I think the next conversation will become in the future, is the Ravens offense just as dominant if the threat of Lamar's run isn't there? Because for as good as a passer as he is, he's a much better player when the threat of the run is available. So that'll be the question and, the situation that the Ravens will have to grapple with. I want to move on to a different topic, though. Ravens play the Bengals on Thanksgiving. That'll certainly be an interesting game. But let's talk about Philadelphia. I do want to go on the record. I did pick Dallas to win that game, even when they were down by a ton. I still felt confident that Dallas would win that game. And I think the most interesting point is, I don't know if you've ever watched his stuff, but I know Andrew Fenichel really well, the NFL and NBA content creator, and he does essentially a recap for every team of the week, just like some quick pointers. And what he mentioned for Philadelphia is they would have won that game against Dallas last year because they would have been able to just run the ball, drain out the clock, and go and win the football game. But Saquon Barkley was inefficient. He wasn't effective. And they couldn't close out the game, and there comes Dallas. Who do you think we learned more about, Philly or Dallas after that game?
I think we knew who Philly was already. They've proven that to that, or they have proven to that to us all year. Oh God, I'm having a seizure. I can't even think about what I'm saying. But Dallas to me proved a lot. I mean, that Quinnen Williams trade already making a huge effect. They are so good at stopping the run now. There's a couple of things I learned about Dallas. Number one, Jerry Jones deserves the biggest apology in the entire world. He had the best offseason of any GM in the NFL. He drafted very well. He got George Pickens, he looks like a top 5 receiver at the moment. When traded Micah Parsons that everybody hated, and then he turned that into a first-round pick, Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, and they look a lot better. And I think Dallas is starting to hit their stride at the perfect time. The defense is playing better. The only worry that I have is maybe their defensive backs, but they're still getting pressure on the quarterback. They're still stopping the run. I have a lot of faith in Dallas. I do think they're going to make the playoffs. I would dare to say they might make a run in that NFC playoffs, depending on how the seeding is, because if they saw Philly again, I would still like Dallas. They're very well.
I don't know. They're not going to have home field. I think part of it is playing in Dallas. Philly never wins in Dallas.
Yeah, but I also think that Philly, Philly reminds me of that year after the Super Bowl. When was that? 2023?
Yeah.
Was that 2023 when they went
Yeah.
on to go 12-1? Reminds me of the same thing. Like they don't have a good offensive coordinator. Nick Sirianni is sticking by his guy, which is a mistake. He obviously has no idea how to get his playmakers the ball. The offensive line's banged up. I think we just learned that Dallas has made the right moves at the right time, and they're starting to get hot. And I do think that they will make some noise in the playoffs. I do not. I'll put it out there now. I don't think they're one and done. I think they're way too talented. I think they're going to win a playoff game.
I don't think they get to the playoffs. I mean, I'm looking at the race right now, and I'm seeing them 10th. I'm seeing them behind Carolina. I'm seeing them behind Detroit. Even if you think Chicago takes a back, I still think probably 3 teams get in from the NFC North.
Yeah, but you look at like Carolina's not making the playoffs.
Because for me, Dallas has got to get with that tie. You're probably going to have to get to 11 wins to feel very confident, which means you can only spare one more loss. The Chiefs this coming week at the Lions. Vikings on Sunday Night Football should be an easier game, but you never know. The Chargers should be fully healthy by the 21st. That's going to be a tough game for them. And then 2 road divisional games to close out the season. I see at least 2 losses in there. And I want people to remember, while they've looked really good the past 2 weeks, this is still the same team that allowed 27 points to Jacoby Brissett in the Arizona Cardinals and allowed 44 points to Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. So I just think that in general, they also don't even have that tiebreaker with Carolina because they lost that game earlier this season.
Carolina,
they don't have a tiebreaker with Chicago.
Let's kick Carolina out. They have to play the Rams. They have to play Seattle. Carolina's done. If they would have won last night, maybe, but they have no shot. I mean, they might not win.
Okay. So they don't have the tiebreaker over Chicago. They're not going to win the division. I don't think Philadelphia is going to have that dramatic a collapse. I just don't see how they get it. For me, sure, if you just look into what Dallas has done the past 2 weeks, the past 2 weeks, Dallas looks like a team that could go on a run. But I don't think the team that they are and the identity of that football team is what we've seen the past 2 weeks. For me, it's the same team that goes and wins 1 week and wins the other. And they hadn't won back-to-back games until just now, which is right after they lost 2 in a row. So it just feels like they're hovering around this 500 mark. I don't see how they get into the playoffs in what is yet again a very competitive NFC playoff picture. Like for me, when I'm looking at these teams, again, Dallas seems like a great team, don't get me wrong. Rams are going to be in the playoffs. Philly's going to be in the playoffs. I think Chicago will be in the playoffs. One of Tampa or Carolina will be in the playoffs from the NFC South. I think Seattle will be in the playoffs. And then it's Green Bay, San Francisco, Detroit. That's 8 teams I have in the playoffs for 7 spots. I don't see how Dallas fits in.
One of the teams I definitely don't like, especially after last night, is San Francisco. I mean, they are inconsistent. I don't care what their record is because they have beaten some easy teams too. And Mac Jones played very well during that time. But this team is way too injured for me. And Robert Saleh
didn't they go on the road and beat both the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams, if I'm remembering correctly?
The 49ers?
I think they went on the road and beat both. I think this is a great team in the Niners. Yeah,
they beat the Rams when the Rams were skidding October 2nd. And now the Rams are probably, I mean, be honest, who wins that game now? We're looking at
probably, but I'm just saying in general, you go through peaks and valleys in the season. I mean, I think the San Francisco team is pretty solid, even because I don't think they can win a Super Bowl, but I think considering, and we're going to talk about this, and that's going to be one of our final segments, but considering the quarterback play, I think they've done a really, really solid job.
I think Robert Saleh he's going to get a head coaching job, as he should.
He shouldn't have been fired in the first place.
Yeah, that's just a really bad look for New York. But
Jet's going to jet. All right, real quick, I do want to break down one more thing, and then we're going to break down a San Francisco storyline, and then we're going to officially wrap this up. Okay. Shedeur Sanders, he had his moments. Is he a good QB in the National Football League?
I'm biased because I love Shedeur. I mean, I absolutely love Shedeur. But I think what we learned is he brought a spark to a Browns offense that absolutely needed it. I think he is willing to take risk. I don't think he's going to magically turn around this Browns team, but I do think he brings a spark to their offense. I don't know if he's a good quarterback. I would like to see him develop even more. I think there is a good point that no backup quarterback is getting first team reps. Let's just keep that out of the picture. But how much better can Shedeur? Because as a raw prospect, he really does have some talented traits about him. I mean, he's the only thing that I really want to see Shedeur do is not hold on to the football as long. But he is very accurate. I mean, one of the players that a lot of people were comparing him to accuracy wise was Joe Burrow. I mean, he had one of the highest completion rates in college football history. I would like to see the Browns go with him another year. I really would, because I don't think there is a really good quarterback in this draft that they have to get. I don't know. I have to see him more. I have no idea. Everybody's making overreactions over one game, both ways. He's great. He's terrible. He played one game. No clue.
Yards after the catch percentage from Shedeur Sanders, 73.4% from this Las Vegas game.
Josina Anderson would say it was all him, though. She had the funniest tweet I've ever seen in my life after he played the Ravens. That was so funny. He did all that work.
For me, I think that Shedeur is going to be the type of guy who's going to have good games. He's going to have bad games. I don't think that's a sustainable method from a QB. I think the Browns will know in the next 6 weeks what they have and what they don't have in Shedeur Sanders, in my opinion. I just think they will at that point, and I think they'll have a little bit of clarity going. I mean, who knows? It's Cleveland, so maybe not. Maybe Cleveland's going to stick with this guy for like 3 years and win like 10 games combined in those 3 seasons, because that's what the Browns do. But it's just like, I have no idea. If I were them, I think what they're going to see is they're going to see that he is extremely inconsistent and has an extreme ego. He did not fall to the 5th round because of his talent. He fell because he is arrogant. I mean, you start one game in the National Football League where you complete 11 of 20 passes with 1 touchdown and 1 interception, and you do the celebration, and you go on and say, this is just with 1 week of practice. Look what I'm going to do later. Who does he think he is? Like, I don't think that is a sustainable method for a football player. A lot of people like to bring up Marlon Humphrey's ego. Marlon Humphrey very often produces. Like, he has been an all-pro multiple times in his career. I've never seen like this where the ego completely supersedes the actual product. That's not a sustainable method.
I'm on the other. I don't really care. I think that the Browns needed somebody like that. And I think they needed a quarterback who is confident in himself and believes in himself.
I don't think that's a confidence, Matt. I think that's an arrogance.
I mean, just imagine though. I was listening to Jack yesterday on here, and he was talking about how these are human beings. Like, imagine Shedeur going through everything that he's been through all season. And then he finally comes in, wins the first game as in his first rookie quarterback in their first game for the Browns to win. I mean, I think it's a little bit of confidence. I think it's a big FU to, first of all, it's ridiculous that Kevin Stefanski went to Dylan Gabriel. It is pretty obvious that Shedeur Sanders, even if he wasn't as ready, he had better traits than Dylan Gabriel. He deserved a real shot.
I think Gabriel's more consistent than Shedeur.
In what way? Because Dylan Gabriel can't throw the ball over 10 yards.
It's much worse than Dylan Gabriel. I think the thing with Dylan Gabriel, he has a lower ceiling and a higher floor. If that's what they wanted someone who, like, you kind of have a good idea of what they're going to do every week, then that would be the right move. If you're simply going, let's see what we got in this guy, then yeah, you start Shedeur. I think it just depends on really what Stefanski was looking for. For the people that think Shedeur was 100% the superior option to start, I don't agree with that. I think it is 100% more of a battle than people think, which is why one guy went in the 3rd round and one guy went in the 5th.
Yeah, but as you said he only went in the 5th round because of his attitude, not because of his talent. Where do you think he would go just because of his talent? I think he
2nd round, 3rd round
should have been drafted higher than Dylan Gabriel. He was a much better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel in college.
But good quarterbacks aren't made off talent. They're made off mental composure. They're made off reading the pocket. They're made off decision making. I'm not saying Sanders isn't good in these areas. Frankly, I haven't done a film tape on Dylan Gabriel versus Shedeur Sanders enough to really tell you who's better in what scenario. I know that obviously the general comps of the players that they are. I can't speak to their decision making and things along those lines, but I think in general there are more variables to a quarterback than just raw talent. I think that's why it took him so long to get on the field.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
I think it was just a weird situation.
And let me say this. I'll flip it right back off you. Even with this raw talent, where does he go if his last name isn't Sanders?
I mean, he might go. With everything that's been happening, it's just his last name, including like the pre-draft process where he was bad in interviews and everything else. You're talking about everything, just his last name.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, if you have what he is as a player and you extract his last name, what is he? What is Arch Manning if Manning isn't his last name? I think there is an element of the last name is certainly overhyping him.
I think Sanders was I thought I mean, just watching Sanders in college, I thought he was much better than what people thought he was. I think the only problem for Sanders was he held the ball for too long. He was very accurate. I thought that I know that he's arrogant, but I thought personally he was a leader of that team. I mean, I didn't think he was a bad college quarterback. I thought he was the most accurate out of any of them in the draft. And I thought he was a playmaker too. He can make plays. I mean, that's the only problem. He tries to make too many plays. I don't know. I think if his last name wasn't Sanders, he might go even higher. I think that's like a big red flag to a lot of people. Is people are like, oh,
well, I
should
think
we draft him because his last
name comes the arrogance, I think, is part of the problem. Like, I don't think he has that type of mentality if he's not Deion Sanders' son.
Yeah, maybe. And Deion was very arrogant. So, I mean, I think, but the problem is that Deion was a much better athlete, like an insanely better athlete. But
and Deion's one of the greatest of all time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if Shedeur didn't have if Shedeur didn't have all the interview problems or anything, I think he definitely maybe gets taken in the first round of that draft.
But again, the interviews are part of the red flags, I think, for sure.
It's part of a quarterback, like you said, yes.
Right. I think it's a very interesting conversation. You could go either way. I think Shedeur is definitely one of the more interesting players to talk about in the National Football League. Matt King, one last thing before we wrapped up. You mentioned how good Christian McCaffrey has been, and I've been waiting to say this on air. When I say is Christian McCaffrey underrated, I think he's the most underrated player in the entire NFL. I don't think he gets enough credit because a few years ago, obviously, he was great. But after the injury, people kind of wrote him off. And I know that, efficiency-wise on a yards per carry standpoint, he hasn't done great. But I'm looking at a guy who is number 10 in the NFL in rushing yards with 7 rushing touchdowns, which is among the best. And then I go to the receiving yards, and he's top 10 in receiving yards as well with 5 receiving touchdowns. I think with the quarterback play, both Mac Jones and Brock Purdy have not done an incredible job. I think McCaffrey is that offense. That's why you see them go from one of the best in the league to one of the worst in the league to one of the best in the league, with the common denominator being, is McCaffrey on the field? I don't think he gets enough credit. I genuinely believe he has an argument to be the best running back in the NFL, even if his speed isn't where it was a few years ago.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if it's him being underrated. I think people just know how great he is, so they don't talk about it as much. And it should be talked about. Like, what he is doing right now is historic. He's going to break all of the receiving records for a running back ever. I mean, we're talking about a guy who can play in the slot and be a top 10 slot receiver in the NFL and also be a top 2 running back. I mean, it's insane what he's doing right now. He will go down historically as, if we're just talking about talent. I don't know about the numbers or anything, but from what I've watched, and I didn't watch all the old heads, that's the greatest running back I've ever seen in my life. But I don't know. I think he should go down as at least a top 10 running back all time, maybe even top 5. With what
really?
I've just never heard of somebody doing that. The only person that went crazy was David Johnson of the Arizona Cardinals. And you take that and do what McCaffrey's done over and over and over. It's crazy.
I mean, the leader among all running backs and scrimmage yards. Not a lot of people like to talk about it because he's not among the leaders in rushing yards, but I mean, he's extraordinary. And I think that I've always said this, whether they're a good team or not, the 49ers will not win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. That contract will go down as one of the worst. No, it will be the worst in their franchise's history and one of the worst of all time, because they're going to realize his incapabilities sooner rather than later, i.e., last night when he throws for 3 interceptions. So I think that Christian McCaffrey is the glue to that offense. Without CMC, they're nothing. And with him, I think he really unlocks that offense and all of their potential. So, yeah, I mean, we can keep going around about how great he is. I think Christian McCaffrey is not getting, maybe it's not underrated, but maybe just not appreciated enough because we've seen it before. But I even think this is a new level. Like, if I haven't done it, let's do it right now, right? 12 games, 1581 divided by 12 is 131.75. 131.75, say he plays all 17 games. See, he keeps a similar pace. He'll go for over 2,000 yards again. And like it's going to be even more than what he did in 2019. I haven't looked at the Offensive Player of the Year odds. I haven't seen him among the leaders. I don't understand why he's not there among the leaders.
I'm not sure what the odds are right now. Well, I have someone else in mind for Offensive Player of the Year, but I can't think of who it was. I feel like JSN. I mean, if JSN
right now looking at he is third on BetMGM. Just going through all the lines.
Who's the other two, though?
It looks like Jonathan Taylor, Jackson Smith, and Jigba have a clear lead at the top.
I feel like Jonathan Taylor's kind of fallen off here. Like I like what.
Here's my problem too, and all these people call me crazy. I said Jonathan Taylor wasn't like a premier MVP candidate a few weeks ago. People thought it was insane. It's a week by week league. Like I think it's more the offensive line for Taylor, like how we've seen Saquon Barkley be not a great running back this year. Like, I think because his offensive line has been worse as well. Like, has Saquon Barkley really gotten worse as a player, or is his line just worse? I think I look at the holes that Jonathan Taylor has. Like, obviously, he takes it for more than I would. I mean, I'd get 4 yards of carry with those holes. I feel like some of them. Like, I'm one of the most unathletic people I know, but I'd get 4 yards of carry with those holes. So, I don't know. I think for me, like, McCaffrey does the most out of any offensive player in the league. I think JSN is a close second, but I don't see the argument for Taylor over McCaffrey for me. I really don't.
No, I don't either, just because of how good he is in the receiving game, even though he's not as good on the ground. Like, I mean, to be, he's number 1 in receptions, like in the entire NFL right now, I think, with 81 or something.
He's number 1 over Trey
McBride and JSN. That's unheard of. I mean, they're feeding him like crazy, but they kind of have to. And also, one more thing with the Brock Purdy thing, I don't blame the Niners necessarily. They had no other option. They were kind of stuck.
No, they did. They get someone else. You get Mac Jones, who plays better.
But you don't know if Mac Jones is going to be Mac Jones.
Yes, you do. You put anybody in that system, they're going to do well. They put Jimmy Garoppolo in that system, and he did pretty well. For me, like it's not the quarterback.
You just keep. But I think Purdy. I think what they liked about Purdy is, and what Shanahan really liked, is that he was playing above those. Like last year, I thought Purdy had a very underrated season last year. I thought he played very well. I thought they were very injured, just like they are every single year. I mean, I think he almost led the NFL in EPA per pass. Like he was
tired of it. When people say EPA, I'm like, look at Brock Purdy. Like, do you think he's like, I don't care what EPA says. You think that's a top quarterback in the league? Like, get out of here.
EPA, I mean, what stats do you use to evaluate? If you're just looking at pure stat, I mean, EPA is the best.
I try to look. I don't look at one individual stat. I really try to look at a ton of different stats. Like, I mean, I do NFL Pro, so I look at like what the variables have been, and like I look at the basic stats, and I say, okay, why? And so then I go more in depth, and I see like what's the separation of their receivers. You know, what's been the quarterback pressure, and I try to really evaluate, you know, the situation instead of the statistic, if that makes sense.
But that's kind of what EPA does, though. It takes everything into account, into a number.
So then what's the difference between EPA and passer rating to you? Because doesn't passer rating I understand they're different stats, but according to that logic, passer rating takes everything into account as well.
I would have to look I feel like I'm honestly going to look into it after this, because now I'm curious. But I feel like I've heard passer rating is a very flawed stat.
I'm
curious as to why. I never look at it. I've never
I
really.
think QBR is a better stat because it totals rushing as well, but it's not as heavily utilized. So I think passer rating is simply just it's your attempt. It essentially values high touchdown percentages and high completion rate. That's why Lamar Jackson is like a passer rating king, because those are the two things he does really well. Like his touchdown interception ratio is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think all of these are flawed stats. For me, I don't really think there's one perfect stat. There's never going to be one perfect stat. I remember I was in the process of writing an article that I never finished a few years ago, but it was like, what is the perfect stat to use? And I'm like, there's none. Like, there really is no perfect stat. And I really don't think there's a best stat either. I really think it's just what you value and what you're looking at. So I think for me, bottom line is, I think they did have a choice. I think you could put most quarterbacks behind that system. Like, all right, let me ask you this question, right? Like, if you put Tyrod Taylor in the 49ers system, what's their record? 7-5? 6-6? Still not winning a Super Bowl? Like
I don't like hypotheticals like that. I just don't.
Do you see what I'm saying, though? Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
it's hypotheticals, though.
See, like, Tyrod Taylor's $2 million a year, not $55 million a year.
Yeah, I mean,
think about how good.
I think Purdy's ceiling is much higher than Tyrod Taylor, though.
Okay, but think about what this team could be if they didn't have to allocate $55 million to a year to a quarterback that doesn't deserve it. This is why teams like Jacksonville don't play well, and this is why Denver couldn't do it with Russell Wilson. When you're paying a quarterback such an extreme amount of money, like, the quarterback needs to be that good. The Chiefs are worth having a really bad receiving core, not a strong running back, because they have Patrick Mahomes for that amount of money. The Ravens are okay sacrificing their offensive line and, some of the interior of their defensive line because they have Lamar Jackson for $52 million a year. Same goes for Josh Allen and Joe Burrow in their respective rosters. For the Bengals,
I'm with you. I don't think Purdy was worth it. I think they were stuck in a hard situation. Same with Miami. Same with Jacksonville. I'd much rather have Purdy at $55 million than Trevor Lawrence or Tua.
Not gonna disagree there. No, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it was as bad as those. I think they all just got stuck in this, like, we don't know how good this player actually is, but we have to because of the market.
Right.
And that's the problem. Somebody has to, at some point, say, I'm not doing it. I'm not. But then if it bites you in the butt, you're screwed. So,
like, for me, it would have been better off to go out and not get Purdy and go and sign Sam Darnold in free agency for $30 million a year. That's $25 million less that you could allocate to other players on this team. Do you see what I'm saying? I do feel like they had another option. They felt stuck when they didn't need to feel stuck.
It's true.
That's my point. Matt King, 58 minutes we just went at it, and frankly, that's what we do here on NFL Week in Motion. Everyone, stay tuned for NFL Week in Motion next week. We had some comments here and there throughout the stream. Matt King, thank you so much for taking the time to join me on the show here today. I swear we could do this for another 3 hours if we really had the time in our schedule, so it's always a lot of fun to chop it up.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Nice seeing you.
Nice seeing you as well. Hope to get together next week, and happy Thanksgiving. Do we have a quick score prediction, Ravens-Bengals on Thanksgiving night?
Well, I have a bet with Chad Ochocinco right now. I don't know if you saw that.
Is this on Twitter? Hold on. We need to see a live reaction here.
Basically, if the Ravens win, Chad has to wear a Ravens jersey on his podcast with Shannon Sharp. And if the Bengals win, I have to buy Chad Ochocinco's jersey, wear it, take a picture, and put it as my profile picture for a week. So that'll be fun. Wow. I am going to bring in every jersey.
This is awesome.
I'm going to bring in every jersey to the game just in case, so I can hand him it. So we'll see if it works. But happy Thanksgiving.
He's commenting on your – that's awesome, man. Good for you. That's incredible, man.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. All right. Matt King, we're signing off here alongside one of the best content creators in the NFL game, Matt King. I'm your host, Chase Coburn, saying so long. Stay tuned for NFL Week in Motion next week. And if you haven't seen my live stream with Jack Settleman yet, go back and view that as well, particularly if you are a Baltimore Ravens fan. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Wrapping it up here. I'm Chase Coburn saying so long from NFL Week in Motion.